build that I've made for a certain shotgun that is not necessarily recent now. I believe it came in last season as a DLC weapon, and this is the VLK Rogue shotgun. Now what this is the smallest shotgun in the game. It's more or less like the semi-automatic shotgun called the Origin 12. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it does have a higher fire rate. This one has a slightly slower fire rate since it is a charging handle on the left side, as you can see. It just takes a second to charge that one, or pull the handle back, slam it forward, fire off a round, repeat it over and over again. Now what's different about this shotgun is that it can actually use magazines instead of, you know, a tube-fed magazine, or not magazine, which is a tube that you feed into a shotgun. Most of them are classically known to do that, or most of the shotguns actually in here are like that. There's only one other one that is a break action, but in this build I want to show you the fastest handling shotgun when it comes to reloading and sprint to fire. Now I'm also going to make it very accurate to where it can kind of help out in 3 different areas, but not necessarily to aim down sights. It's more to be more of a hip fire kind of build, and you can be able to pull your gun up instantly. Now we're not going to be using the newer attachment, which is Dragon Breath rounds or incendiary rounds that will burn people alive. Instead, we're going to be putting on several attachments to make it to where you have the most sprint out time. Now that's the time between you running, put your gun to the side or just in your hands, not pointed forward, but you're pretty much just sprinting or running around, and it's time to take for you to pull your gun back into position and aim down sights or shoot from the hip. Just that transition between those 2 animations. So this is going to be a bit of a downside here, but we're going to go for the 4-round mags. Now this increases aim down sight speed, the sprint to fire speed, not a whole lot, as you can see in the mobility there. It only increases it a little bit, but that's already almost at max. There's only like a little bit more room there that we're going to be pushing up at least 2 other times. Now this also increases movement speed. For your overall movement speed, I believe it will be 96 with this shotgun. Since it's incredibly lightweight, it's more or less the mobility of an SMG. And it also says reload quickness. Now I have seen other gun guides going over the stats of how fast to reload with certain magazines and stuff. They don't necessarily do builds like this, but they just kind of go over the attachment stats. The reload quickness is not too much. I think it's like 5 to 10%, but it is a boost nonetheless. So that's there. That's actually a pretty good roll that we're going to be using to increase your reload time for your gun. We can also stack that with a different attachment, but I want to show you this is one of the attachments that we need right here. It's incredibly important. It does knock down your magazine size to 4 rounds, so you have to keep that in mind. For the barrel, this is not necessarily necessary, but I'm going to make it to where it increases tighter pellet spread, or has a tighter pellet spread damage range. This is just to give you a little bit more extra range, and I'm also going to do a suppressor that does the exact same thing. It just decreases your aim down sight speed. So we're not aiming down sights, we're aiming for going from that transition to running and then pulling your gun up to your waist to train it back facing forward. So all this is going to do is make it to where you're more accurate. You can also put on a 5 milliwatt laser to help out with hip fire accuracy. It still helps with the pellet spread, but it doesn't list it as helping out the pellet spread. Now this is where we get even better. The 5 milliwatt laser, I forgot to explain, it does increase hip fire accuracy even more. You can see the mobility, it's below the line for some odd reason. That's probably due to these 2 barrels right here. They can aim down sight speed. But the barrel attachments, like the suppressor and the barrel itself, they don't take away anything from the sprint to fire speed. They just take away from the aim down sight speed, so it's going to take away a little bit of that mobility stat that you see there. Now we're going to go to rear grip. This is going to go down to stipple grip tape. This increases our aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. So now that is 3 attachments that increase aim down sight speed, or not aim down sight speed, sorry, sprint to fire speed, or hit fire speed from transitioning from sprinting to aim down, or not aim down sights, but hit fire. And that is already incredibly good. Now that's 5 attachments. I can't use any more here, but this can get even better. Now in my whole entire class setup, I'm just running the Scar. It's from a different gun build. I believe I posted on Instagram if you haven't already seen that. But it's a really cool looking fleshed out gun. I'll go over a different gun guide for that later on. But this is where it gets even better. You want to go down the perks. Now you want to make sure you turn on Specialist. Now what Specialist does is allow you to get every single perk in the game when you get a certain number of kills. If you're running Hardline, which is this perk, it'll make your kill streaks cost 1 less. So for you to get, without Hardline, the minimum amount of kills that you need to get in order to get all the perks is 8 kills. With this one, it makes it 7. It just makes it a little bit easier and a little bit faster for you to get all your perks. Now this gives you every single perk in the game that you usually use, like EOD to give you explosive resistance and stuff like that, but also gives you a couple of perks to your guns. One being Sleight of Hand, which training is in reloading faster when under pressure, reload quickness. Now I believe from the gun guides that people went over for stats and certain things like this, it gives you an increased reload speed of 30% roughly, stacked onto the small 4-round magazine, which is about 10%. So you get yourself about 40% reload speed. I say about, these are estimations, and that will give you very fast reload speed, very fast sprint to fire speed, to where it's almost instant. There is actually a weird animation, like the transition from going from sprinting to hit firing is kind of snappy. It almost doesn't even look natural. And we also have these 2 barrels here, or 2 barrel attachments for the muzzle at the suppressor and the bigger barrel. This does not affect anything else besides aim down sight speed and movement speed and aim walking steadiness. You won't need to worry about that. You don't want to be aiming with this. This is more focused on hip firing. So now with that attachment set up, I can go into a game. I just got already everything set up. This might take a couple seconds, I don't know. The bots get lucky and get a good shot off of me. It's just going to take a little bit longer. But with all those attachments set up, I'll pick the shotgun and I'll run through. You get to see how fast this thing is after I get about 8 kills. I'm not running hardline because I have the Scar as my primary, just to help me out a little bit. So this is the shotgun right now. I can run around.
Team deathmatch.
This is me super sprinting or tactical sprint when I throw my arms up like that. This is me normal sprinting. You can kind of see that snap right away. I can run and it snaps instantly. This is tactical sprint. Instantly snaps into place. This is the fastest sprint out speed in the game so far. Now normally there would be like a 5 milliwatt laser, obviously, that you would have for most other guns that will increase sprint to fire speed. And then there will be the stipple grip tape, which will also increase it. But no gun has the detachable magazine like this thing that will also increase reload speed and sprint to fire speed. I think the only other gun that has this is the SKS, but it doesn't have the same kind of speed as the shotgun. It doesn't have the light frame. So let me get a couple more kills here, and when I get the specialist, you'll see what I'm talking about with this reload speed.
Specialist achieved.
So when I fire off a round, you can see that it's kind of like a jerkiness to the magazine now. So it's kind of aggressive right there, but that is the fastest reload speed you're going to get out of this gun, plus the sprint to fire speed. So you can move around and fire pretty well. Get your 1 or 2 shots off, kill somebody, and then back up. Again, like I said, those 4 rounds in the magazine is going to be a little bit of a downside to this whole build. So you're gonna have a little bit of skill there when you get into place. You gotta make sure you pick your shots just right. I recommend loading stopping power rounds in, just to give you that little bit of extra boost to your damage. But besides that, this is the fastest build I've found so far for a shotgun all around, especially for hip fire. Now I could find a different setup I could make where I can turn the shotgun to the size of a handgun. And you get to see the most amount of aim down sight speed you can get out of it, and it can act a little bit different. I think I went over a different build a while back, and it is turning this gun into a sniper rifle using the slug rounds, and very similar attachments here. Alright, so this is kind of just a showcase on a really cool, or to me anyway, a really cool class setup for a shotgun that people overlook. Now if you want, I can do another class setup. It'll go over one of the most terrifying classes you can get out of this gun, tangible disabling, where you can, or what it allows you to do is when you shoot somebody in the legs, it will make it to where they're not able to sprint or able to tactical sprint. So all they really can do is walk away from you, and by then you'd already have time to follow up on your second shot. They can't outrun you with a certain perk, and if you're hip firing, chances are from one of your pellets actually hitting them in the legs, if your whole crosshair deal, that little circle that you see in the middle, just a little bit of that is on their legs or like near their thighs, anywhere on their legs really, it will hit them, or it has a high chance of hitting them in the legs.
Walk it the fuck off.
The chances of you getting that frangible disabling activated is incredibly high. I'll be using the Marauder suppressor, the same barrel that I'm using now, and of course the flame rounds, and that will make it to where the hip fire spread or the pellet spread is a lot smaller, so you can do a hip fire and it will give you a lot more accuracy. And that can be in a different video if you guys want to see it, or if you want to see the pistol version, you just let me know. I'll definitely go over both of them if you guys like these kind of videos. So this is the fastest build for hip fire accuracy, and the fastest reload speed that you can get in the game with a shotgun or like a gun that's not a handgun.
Enemy at the warehouse.
Because I believe the handgun is, the smallest weapon you can get besides this thing. And they have a lot faster handling just because of what category they're in. And I can also go over, I believe I already got a video up for this, but the SCAR that I'm using now, it's like a black and red one, looks pretty cool. It shoots red tracers, has like a red laser sight, that's a tactical laser. It's not the standard green. And I can go over that if you guys want to, kind of just going over the attachments and stuff, how to build that as well. And I want to kill a couple more bots here so you can kind of see how this thing really works. I got the nuke. Actually, no, I might as well just call this thing in. I can actually be the ending there.
This is set it out. Passcode accepted.
So yeah, I think this is a really cool class setup. I mean, you can probably switch out the 4 rounds or the 4-round magazine if you don't want the fastest reload speed, and you probably just go with the standard 8 or the fire rounds. The sprint out time or the reload time that this whole class setup is supposed to work with, but it will be an interesting mashup. And from that nuke just ending off, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Just let me know if you guys want to see more builds like this.
Mission accomplished. Top